I'm not feeling well. I have a sick child upstairs, so I will be contributing to the not feeling really present for the conversation. But we go through it, and I think we have a good plan ahead. As first, I'd like to start with the minutes. Have people had a chance to review those? Are there any comments, suggestions, concerns, things to add? The only piece that I mentioned to Haley is just that I think in the minutes we should reflect who was present, both in terms of the voting members and who was present from the public. So I just think that was the only piece that I had to offer relative to the minutes. But again, very grateful to Haley for doing this for us. So that would be just the one amendment that I would suggest.
Should we wait until the amendments complete before we approve? Or
I think we're able to, under Robert's rules, approve with the understanding that this would be the amendment offered, that simply it would just be to add in the attendees.
okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I can second.
Any further discussion? Votes in support, please indicate with your hand or whatever. And any votes, any nays? And any abstentions? All right, so we'll approve the minutes. Thank you. Just wanting to, again, spend some time reviewing our agenda and the plan for today. Don't know if there are any additions to the agenda that people are looking to make sure that we talk about today. Any thoughts? All right, I did not do this in the order that I wanted. You're getting used to this. I did want to just kind of make sure that people had a chance to review the charge because I want to circle back to that at the end because it's so relevant for our report. But just want to make sure that people did get that and have a chance to look at it and have that in your head while we're planning for this meeting and future meetings. And we'll get to that at the end because there will be those conversations about some of the recommendations that we're charged with making in terms of resources and training in particular. So just want to make sure everyone has that, had a chance to look at it, and want to make sure that that reflects is reflected in our reports. All right, so moving forward on the agenda, I know, and I think you're all set with this, Meredith, because half your team I know is someplace else, but on the life of a case chart and where we're at with that. And Haley thought that, or Jenna thought that this was something that you could give a conversation or lead the conversation about. And I know that you've also just recently gotten some comments as well. So I'm hoping that by the 15th, we can have something that is agreed upon by everybody. So I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. So Jenna, Ashley and I met yesterday and looked at everyone's edits except Danielle's. But I think now that we've made some changes, I think if Danielle reviews it, it might answer some of the questions she had or thoughts. So that did we send that to you, Jen?
I haven't seen anything, Meredith, that's been updated. I've only seen.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have it?
Yeah, I think I'll send it out right now to you.
Okay.
Maybe you could send it to everybody. So those edits were made. I would like you said, next week to be, or the next time we meet to, have all the changes ready to go. So
Okay.
Ashley's gonna forward that out now, to you, and maybe you could forward that to everybody, so we could
Sure.
work on that next week.
And I think the reality is that some of
Jen,
these
I need to-
pieces we're just going to have to finalize via email
Send it to
because it's going to be hard to get everybody together for a meeting. And I think it's important to show progress to the legislature. So,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Jenna put this out a while ago and we've collected the comments. And so I think it's just about reflecting on the work that you all have done to incorporate those comments. So I appreciate that. And I will
Yeah.
make sure we send that out. And we're just going to have to, again, do this by via email.
Yeah, I think that's great. So Ashley just sent it to you, and,
Okay.
if everyone could look at that draft, that would be great.
Okay, are people fine with me holding off on sending that till after the meeting? Seeing head nods. Okay, so I will plan to send that right away after the meeting. And again, we're hate to do this, but we have a tight timeline and want to make sure that the work is reflected in that has happened through DOC is reflected in our report on this. So otherwise, I'm looking for any updates from the different work groups that Joe and Meredith are on in terms of where we're, what progress has been made from the last meeting. And I know there were a bunch of different things that you all were asked about.
Yeah, so, Anna, Megan and I are continuing our work on the parole notification. I met with Mary Jane, who had some concerns about leaving some things out, so we put those things back in. We haven't agreed on a final notification, but we're almost there. And I'll let Joe, we had a tech meeting, this week, so I'll let Joe give an update on the tech meeting.
Sure. So as part of the kind of overall general project, progress continues. We have Vine working on remapping their system. And when they're done that, they're going to provide it to us for review. So the ball's kind of in their court on that end. Speaking specifically to the parole issue, we also discovered some issues around the parole data that don't hold me to this 100% because it's preliminary, but we might need to change the way we provide some of the parole data to Vine. So that's something we're investigating right now.
And then Jen, for the resource form, I do have that. I got that. It's a very easy process. And we just need to know who you all think that we should be sending that out to. I can do an email to everybody that we think should get it. And then it's literally, I went through it yesterday. It's step by step. They just fill out the information and then it gets plugged into Vine.
Yeah, and so Ashley will send that form out to you, Jen, but we would like to know, like, who should we have on our resource guide and who should we be sending it to? Obviously, the network folks we're gonna send it to. And anyone else you can think of who is a resource. I would like some stuff from Tracy potentially, of resources we could direct people to. So that might be something she could let us know about. And so what happens is they would fill out the form and we would approve it and it would go on Vine for the
Thanks, Tracy.
resources.
Perfect. And certainly with our sub-grantees, I think that we can in addition to what the network is providing, think about some other programs, send those out. And also, I think having Jane and Kelsey and Anna in a different capacity, but looking at it from a survivor lens in terms of what else would have been helpful when I got this notification. So I think we have the group here to be able to do those pieces. But I
That would be
appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
And so just to be clear, when you create this more Vermont-specific resource piece, this would be something that could be populated into the notification itself?
No, it would be on the Vermont Vine page. There's
But there would-
there's a little square that says
Mhm.
resources. So,
I've seen that, but could we put it on the form itself, the
Oh,
link? That was,
maybe,
I think,
yeah.
one-
we could embed a link to a website, I think, but not in, in the notification, but what we can't do is embed a link that would lead to the full notification, but we can embed links. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but we can certainly ask. We'll put that on our list. Joe, if you would put it on your list too.
We just have to be mindful of how much we're putting in the
Notification.
notifications. So that's why we just have to run it by Joyce to see.
Okay, I think what I had been hearing was that in the release piece, having something that was particularly on point in terms of, I just got this about somebody being released and, I want to be able to contact or find some help right away. So I think it was that particular notification. Looks like somebody got, so just
Yeah,
wanted
so-
to flag that.
Yeah, maybe we could put it on our releases. So we can definitely look into that. I put it on my list to ask.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And I know, I think Jane had gotten kicked out of the group for some reason, but that was one thing that she had made really clear. Jane, I was just speaking to having that resource piece identified on a release form in terms of how somebody could proceed if they had any questions. So I think that was the piece that you might have missed.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I did get kicked.
Okay, so if that's something that you all can check on, and then just let me know, as soon as possible. Obviously, I think, poor Haley is gonna be helping me quite a bit with the report, but want to reflect, back that effort in the report. As far as, the language accessibility piece, want to check in on that. I think there were a few people, not quite sure who was taking the lead on it, but that we're going to look into what it would take in terms of resources to support the actual, not just the translation itself, but the system being able to do that. So I'm going to defer to the people that identified themselves as following up.
Yeah, so we are still waiting on a couple cost breakdowns, but we are looking into that. I do want to just remind folks that even though Vine is a great resource and we use it, if we had different language folks that needed to get notifications, we would figure out internally how to do that with translation services. So I don't want people to think we're not doing that now if people request it, because we would and we do. So I just want people to know that, like, Vine is a tool we use, and ideally we would like to have it in all those languages, but I'm not sure what the price is going to be. And we're trying to get the price with languages, all the languages requested, and then what it would cost to update just the language that we've worked on in our group too. So I'm going to get you those as soon as I get it. Joyce is hoping she can get me that by next week. So I should have it at the next meeting. Anna, I don't know if you want to speak to any of that?
I think that, yeah, Joyce said that she kind of turned that over to Meredith to get all those prices together. And so, you know, there's been some preliminary ones and they're looking at breaking it down to how it could be, you know, if we redid everything with all the languages, how it would look with just emails, all sorts of different options. And what it would also look like if we translated it or had our translators who use Language Line do it and then give that back to Vine to implement. So I think they're putting together a lot of different scenarios.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused in that I thought from the last meeting, the cost I was told was not as much reflective of cost of the actual translation, but having the system be able to do that. Because Language Line is not that expensive, having just gone through this for actually translating written material. So I guess I'm confused as to, again, what we're looking for in terms of a quote. I thought it
So-
was more the implementation.
No, it's pretty complicated, I guess, from a data standpoint. I don't know if Albert could speak to this, but or Joe, I don't know if you could speak to it either, but it's not as simple as just translating. It's the data
Mhm.
in, the data out, things that are way above my head. But so it's complicated, and so we really want the numbers to accurately reflect this and this, so we can bring that to the task force. But
And that
it is,
reflects what I understood, Meredith, is that we need that piece, not so much who's going to do it, but more like how do we do it? And how, you know, it sounds like there might be an ongoing cost. So those are the pieces that makes,
Yeah.
that's where I thought we left off.
yeah, no, I mean, and again, they are doing quotes with, like, if we were to help them do this, if we were to use our translation services, I mean, I don't know, it's complicated, but we're working on it, so I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure that we are able to utilize this small window of opportunity to, you know, provide support to everybody working in the system and to victims and survivors. And so if we need resources or the department needs resources, they're listening. They're listening now. So I want to be a part of advocating for that. Just want to reflect a couple of things in the chat before we move on. Megan, Anna, and Kelsey, you had all put something in the chat. I don't know if you want to elevate it to a conversation piece or just leave it in the chat. I don't know if people do check their chats. You're muted, Kelsey.
Sorry, everybody. I think my piece is just sort of a side note that we don't have time to dig into. I was just asked to relay it. So if folks have a minute to read it, that's it.
Yeah, that's been lifted up to me too. And Kelsey, I'd love to talk with you offline about our concerns around it and see if we can come up with a solution.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
didn't
willing.
mean to derail. That's
Okay.
why I just
No,
put it in the chat, but
think
I'd love to do that, Meredith.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
I mean, I'm also happy to be part of a side conversation, Kelsey, if you want to reach out. I did share survivor information pretty, I don't know, uniformly when I was at DOC, which is send contact information with the provider.
But these are also places that we can, you know, as I mentioned in the email, we're right now kind of in that reaction mode, but we are still together until mid-February. And so thinking about some of the ways that might not be in our particular exact charge, but, you know, what else can we be thinking about and recommending in the future? So it's not derailing, it's just, you know, giving us food for future thought.
Well, I'll just quickly say then that this one was in Windham County, and the disconnect of understanding how sort of the victim notification system works in terms of, the facilitator, but, he was expressing he has a hard time getting it. Oftentimes POs don't have the contact information, that sort of piece. And so again, it was, sort of the loop, right? This is being worked on. And then he did ask the Women's Freedom Center person that was there if they needed, could they reach out to them? And that was a hard no. That even if they were working with that particular victim and survivor, they would, if that person asked them and said, we'd like to connect with a PO or with the DVAP program, then they would, they wouldn't offer it as, hey, if you need this connect, we'll help you. It was, if they ask for it, then we'll do it. So anyway, but yeah, the state's attorney representative that was there was saying you could always reach out to Savas as well. And so there was that loop, but I think it mostly goes back to the POs didn't necessarily have it. So it's the same.
I was just gonna say that, Kelsey, I think this MOU will be really important, when we talk about how we communicate with each other. And so then the loop will be closed, right?
Right.
That's
And
my
I think
hope.
he also, I don't think quite understand the challenges of protecting their contact information and making sure it didn't end up in the wrong systems, right? There's so much there. So yes, I'm glad it's lifted up and I know it's being worked on. And again, just flagging another area where they were able to share, how much success, the numbers of how much engagement they're able to have. And it was pretty small and mostly because they don't have contact information. So.
Yeah, Meredith, I'm not sure if you've been in touch with Selena and Heather from the DB Council on this yet. So I'll connect with them, and anything that we can do to support, we're happy to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have a couple ideas maybe.
Meredith, are
But-
VXS is still participating in the DVAP programs in their regions?
Well,
We're down to.
we're
Yeah.
down to, and we're only getting one position. So we.
We're cutting a position?
Yep,
Not getting,
um,
cutting.
yeah. We kind of had to do that in order to focus our efforts on Vine. And so that's where, we decided we're going to put our efforts for now. But, that being said, no, I don't think they have the capacity right now to be doing that.
And
And
we're
that's,
cutting a position.
that's what the
Yeah.
VSS said in the meeting that, when it was asked, hey, is this something you could take on? And she did say, sadly, no, we don't have the capacity to do that, but I'll lift it up the chain to Meredith, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think we will, they try to attend the, DVAP meetings when they can, but, they're covering so many regions, it's been difficult.
Well, to clarify, right, no, she attended, but the question of, hey, can you take on helping us with contacting the victims, that part, she said, I don't think we have the capacity to do that. But she was absolutely active in this particular review.
Just a quick question I have, Meredith, is, so this new position that's being established, that's taking away a VSS, who supervises that person? Do you know?
Yeah, so it's gonna be Joe. So, Joe, supervisor is Krista, who I think you've met.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. But, I did ask that, the person, their number one effort is going to be Vine and helping victim services with Vine and also, booking. And so that's what my expectation is of the new position. So I think we needed that. And although I'm disappointed we can't get more, positions, I think that it's a good place to put our efforts.
Well, I'd be interested in checking in offline to see if there are things that can be done. So maybe that's something I'll just follow up with you about.
Sounds good.
I'm guessing, I think I heard this already alluded to, that maybe we can't embed. I'm looking at you, Ashley, on my screen. If we are able to embed a link in text messages, that would keep us in a similar place in terms of language that is in the emails. And I know that you were, I believe it was you that was going to check in with Joyce and see if we could actually do that. Any update, or have you even had a chance?
Yeah, and I don't think this was the one where they couldn't, yeah. It's not something, because there's not gonna be, it's not something that they can do because they wouldn't be able to link it to anything. So they can't
Okay.
link the notification through a text.
Oh, Anna has more information too.
Yeah, the thing has been they can't link the specific notification in a text. They can link to Vine and you log in and get your notification.
Yeah.
And that's really important from a safety place as well, that you actually log in to get that. So if you're receiving a text that says to read your full notification, click here, then you go and you log in and you'll read your whole notification. So it can be a Vine link, but not specific to
Mhm.
the exact notification.
Which we
So-
embed the Vine link anyway
In everything.
Okay.
in everything, so.
All right. So, and I've never seen what a text looks like, but it sounds like the text comes in, you're given the link to say you should check your, check Vine for that information. So that's.
That's,
okay,
I
thank
don't
you.
think that's what we do. We actually send a notification, but I think it would be better if we thought about embedding the way Washington does it. I mean, we can talk about what we think about doing what Washington does, which Anna just talked about, is just embedding the link and saying to read your full notification, go here.
I think the only concern with that would be if they didn't sign up and do an actual account. So right now, Jen, the text messages that come through, depending on the carrier, it depends on how many text messages come through. But the notification itself comes right in that text message. And then I think, and I will double check with Joyce, but if they were to provide just the link to VineLink, the victim survivor would have to have created an account to go in and get that. So I don't know if they can just look at it as a guest, or if they have to create that account. So I can check with Joyce about that, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to create an account on VineLink and log in that way. If we're gonna just do the text message.
Thanks, and I'm glad Shay raised her hand, because I know this was something, or I recall it was something that she had raised, so thank you, Shay.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if we were still intending to review any changes that are being done to the language in the current text messages that are being sent, because it was my understanding we only reviewed the email language.
Well,
It's all the same.
it'll be the same. It'll change the language in there too, but it still may come in funky depending on your carrier. So that's why I kind of prefer the way Washington does it, but I mean, again, I think Ashley brought up some good points of why it wouldn't be great to do that. So let's talk about it more.
Currently, the email notifications that go out are not the same as the text messages under the current system. Is that changing then as?
No, but they have to be abbreviated in order to come through as a text. So that's the issue.
So is
we
the
see what that's-
abbreviated version something we'll also review like we did with the emails to get like input from Disability Rights Vermont?
I don't know if we'll have time to do that in this group, because I don't know what that's gonna look like, but I would love to, when we change our notifications, have a small work group that we go over the text notifications, Shay, and you could be part of that, and we could bring in disability rights as well. Because I think we have to see what the notifications look like first and what they'll look like via text. So, I would love to be able to do that.
In the meantime, is there a reason why we couldn't look into what Washington's doing? Though that may help to move things forward and make it a little bit easier if there is that ability to, for at least for some survivors, to be able to access that information that we've already, spoken about in terms of the language. Is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could, for sure. And we could also, if we said to see your full notification, click here, and then we could also say for more information, call and put our number. So, I mean, there's a couple things we could do that I think would be more useful than the text messages, because I think Shay points out, like, they're not great.
All right, so that's something that, again, maybe chatting, it sounds like, is that okay, Meredith, to chat with Joyce about how we would move that forward, and then having a group work with you to kind of figure out how that looks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, thank you. Just looking at where we are, because we've jumped around a little bit. Any other comments from anybody relative to what we've been speaking about just now before we move on? All right, I'm gonna, we'll be following up on the release pieces, going down to earn time notification. Just any updates as far as where that stands in terms of reaching out to victims. We do have a piece, just from the center's perspective. We do have a piece now, I've been told, haven't had a chance to check it, but it's on our homepage that links to Vine. And we are going to be working, as I mentioned, with our Survivor Council, and I see two of you here, to have an actual page dedicated to Vine as well, and sharing that DOC information. So looking to boost that up, probably have that all set officially within the next month on our end. And I know Charlie has been working on it from her end, and then just wanted to see if DOC had a chance to think about the victims who've already were already registered, and how we get that information out. I know, Meredith, I think you were working on some language.
To update survivors?
Yes.
Yeah. So, some good news. It's on the Vine website. It's on our website, so I'm super happy about that. And again, when we start transitioning our work, which we've started into facilities, we are going to be sending out a letter to all victims whose cases we don't have contact information for, or we're going to be gathering contact information of everyone who's been sentenced, and make sure that they know what DOC offers, but also send them the changes, if that makes sense. And we're working on the packets, which we don't have yet, but I should have that by the next meeting, so people can review our packets that we're going to be sending out.
So that would all be done, it sounds like, for now, through a letter and not utilizing Vine or text or
Yeah.
email?
Well, it will talk about Vine, but it's also going to talk about what programs DOC offers. And if there's not a VSS assigned, who they can reach out to. So That'll be clear in the letter of who they can contact. And we'll put brochures in there about Vine. We'll have one on, victim offender dialogue and one on the apology letter bank. And because we think that's a vital document, so we're gonna have those translated as well, because any vital document we can have translated.
Thank you. Does anyone have any thoughts or feedback?
Meredith, I'm curious for folks who are in the Vine system, how like do you know roughly what percentage of them you have a physical like mailing address for as opposed to just like a phone or email contact?
I don't know. I'm sure we can run some sort of report. But what we're going to be doing, Charlie, when we're going through these people who've already been sentenced, we're hoping to get through the whole everybody eventually, but we will try to get those addresses. And if there's not a physical address, we'll email. And if there's not an email, we'll call. So
Okay.
that's our hope. That's why we're getting into facilities and doing this work, is we need to get people as soon as they're sentenced. Because, you know, if we wait too long, you know, the information is not good anymore. So,
Okay, totally understood. Thank you.
yeah, and explaining to survivors, that, you know, what programs we offer and where they can access us. And yes, for now, Megan, this is just for incarcerated folks. Yeah, if we don't have contact information, I don't know what we would be able to do. Shay, I'm just answering your question. What do you guys do if you don't have any victim contact information?
We contact law enforcement, the last entity, the statute points you back to the last point of contact for the survivor, whoever
So-
that is. So we reach out to law enforcement to get that information.
I
But I mean,
think
it's
I
usually
asked-
there.
Yeah, I think I asked that because like we would contact law enforcement, either the officer that was on scene or even dispatched, to ask them to run the person through Valcor to see their last involvement to get updated contact information. But if there's no contact information for incarcerated individuals, for the victims, I would assume that my hope is that you guys will reach out to the state's attorney's office who prosecuted the case to see if we have victim
Yes.
contact information, because that's what currently happens with
Yeah.
the POs that reach out to us.
Yes, that'll continue to happen.
And for
You
this letter
guys-
as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. That's why we want to do this, because, you know, I think we're getting people way too late in the process. Like when we're release planning, you know, it's just not good practice. So really changing our practice to get people's contact information on the front end. And we'll start with the newest sentence. We developed a tab in OMS where we can see the most recent sentenced folks. So you'll be hearing from us if we can't find victim information. And you'll have it because it's newer, not 20 years old.
Meredith, when, I mean, I know there's gonna be capacity issues, I think, for state's attorney's offices, but given that this is sort of a practice Windsor already engages in, the incarcerated people are kind of the gap, because the PO, we can go in Vine and just send it to the PO and then, you know, CC Claudia or CC whoever's in the region just to make sure somebody has the info. But incarcerated individuals, like, do you want us to just like when we close out a case, for people that have capacity, knowing that you're going to reach out anyway, it might just make sense if we have a point person
Yeah, I
to
would love
send
that.
that to. Should it just be the VSS for the region, like to make sure that
Yes.
it gets to the caseworker, whoever, because that information is not on Vine, like okay.
Yeah, I think that would be great. That's why I would like our MOU to develop some sort of way we will do this, because I know it takes people keep asking you the same question over and over again. You know, when
Yeah,
it changes and they're not putting the information in Vine and all the things happen.
Yeah, and I think, like many things, it is a capacity issue for,
Yes,
the Savas have, again, an average of 600
I
cases
know.
each,
I
so
know.
it's,
I know, and I don't want you guys to have to keep answering emails, because I know I've seen it happen so many times where a PO reaches out and then they get changed and another PO reaches out, and then you're like, where is the information?
right, where is
So,
it stored?
yeah.
I think that front loading it and not having it be emergent will, I think, help the cause a little bit, because I think as it is right now, it's sort of like this person is being released tomorrow. Do you have their information? Then it's like, I didn't see this email until whatever, like 2 days later, and then it's like,
Yeah.
shit.
Or you're
that's
out,
bad.
or,
Right,
something.
whatever.
Yeah, that's what we want to avoid happening at all cost, which is why we're gonna front load the information.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Amy, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm thinking something similar along the lines of like sending out letters and to people that we're not sure where they live. And I'm not sure exactly what would be in those letters, like just trying to be thinking about that. So
Yeah, I think lifting that up is super important, Amy, and I have those same worries. I mean, we would ideally like to talk to somebody before we would send out a letter, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be our first line of defense, is talking to people, telling them we're gonna send this letter out, telling them what's gonna be in the letter.
And
Yeah.
with the cut in position, like what is gonna be the capacity for that?
Well, I'm covering some facilities, Ashley's covering some facilities, and then we have Claudia. We're getting a new person in Burlington. That position is posted. If you know anyone who's great, encourage them to apply. And we have Karen going into facilities, so we'll be in facilities once or twice a week for the day. So I think we are going to be okay. We don't think it's going to be a huge lift. That's our hope, but we don't know until we start, so.
Mhm.
And we're going to be focusing our efforts on those listed crimes and those crimes where people are incarcerated, because, and as you know, Megan, those will be a lot of work on the front end, but they're not a lot of work in the middle. Because once we have victim contact information and once victims know where they can look for information and find information, if somebody has a 30-year sentence, I mean, we will check in with them, as often as they want us to, but usually people say, don't contact me until, 2 years out from release, or.
Meredith, my apologies. I'm kind of processing this as we go through the conversation. I'm just thinking about the kind of hard copy mail approach. And that, a lot of these Vine users have selected the method of contact that they prefer. And I think the best way to contact them is by using that method that they chose, and there could be
Yeah,
some really
absolutely.
important reasons, including safety reasons, why they chose that method as opposed to others. And so, I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to use that preferred method.
So, that is a good, that's something Thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, I can't get my words out. So the idea is that we are going to contact them the way that they want to be contacted through Vine, and then ask to have a conversation with them. And then this is a one-time like follow-up letter so that they know exactly like what we talked about. It's not how they're going to be notified moving forward. We're not going to continue to mail them things. This is a one-time thing so that they can, it's basically, Charlie, we're going to have a one-pager that we've reached out to staff. Like, what do you want? If you could talk to a victim right from the get-go, what would you like them to know? So, you know, they would like the victims to know that if the PO or if the caseworker calls, please return that call because it's for a reason. Or they want to know if this is a sex offense, who exactly are we talking to? That kind of thing. And then we just want to follow up with a letter to make sure that they know, like, we've gone over everything and they have it, but it's a one-time thing.
And if they don't want a letter, we're not
Yeah,
sending a
we
letter.
won't send it. But we're gonna be,
Yeah,
it's not, how they have registered is how we will initially contact them. And if they don't want the letter, we won't send it. But we're very aware of that kind
yeah.
of thing.
And we want to have those conversations.
Yeah,
Like
for
that's where we want to focus our efforts. So.
That's very helpful. Thank you all. And so it seems like, you know, you'll ask victims if, you know, they would like a follow-up letter, and that there's an opportunity maybe to send that, you know, by email instead. Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a couple of things in the chat I want to make sure we get to, but I also see that Jane has her hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to ask about the envelope that you send those letters in. Does it say like, do not open by this person punishable by law, or anything that's going to protect people that are like living with an abuser's family member or something like that? Does it say
I
anything
mean,
on those envelopes?
I don't know is this something you're aware of happens? Is this something is this a common practice? Because we're open to hearing what you think should be on the envelope, for sure.
I don't think I can't remember getting a letter because I use Vine, but and I've moved so many times because of
Yeah.
my user, obviously. And I also have to change my phone number and my emails and all that stuff. So it's been
Yeah. Well, we would
thinking-
ask you for sure how you would like to receive the letter, or if you even want a letter. And
right.
yeah,
I think on the envelope it should definitely say like, do not
confidential.
open unless you are this person, right? Like punishable by law, and maybe that would put another layer of protection for the victim
Yeah, we
if
could
they're
ask
still in a bad situation.
yeah, we could ask our legal team about that too. So, yes, Amy, we're also talking about people who are not registered, which is why we're going to be getting the victim contact information from the SAVAs on the front end.
And Megan, you had something in the chat regarding sex offenses?
Yeah, I have been working on some older cases where registry violations have come up, and I have been, when I was at DOC, we developed like a fillable form for the registry. And I've been sort of like pushing that out to people here, but I'm thinking with sex offenses, this would be a very good place to send out notification that they can get updated of that person's address information. And I know that an advocate has to sign off and identify like the docket number and whatever, so that they can be kept up to date about where that person's living. So it seems like that might be a good practice to get them that information, because a lot of people just don't know that they have that right.
Should be done.
Yeah. So, is that, yeah, I mean, I think those are things we want to think about for sure. Sending out that form potentially for high risk. I mean, again, we'll talk
I
to the
think
victims.
just registerable, it's all registerable offenses. So
Okay.
if they're on the registry, they qualify to get notification from the registry itself about their address. And I think I'm fairly certain that that's a DOC doc. I know when Jenna was in your position, Meredith, I think her husband like made it like a really easy fillable form that could be sent out via email or, if it needed to be mailed, that could happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that same related front, victims also have of sex offenses, as I understand, have a right to participate in sort of that release planning process. So would that be something that would be or could be included as well? Because I doubt a lot of people wouldn't necessarily even know that.
Yeah, I mean, those are the conversations we're going to have with them. I don't know if we put it in the letter or if we have those conversations, but yes, we will. We always have those conversations with victims. And, our new practice for reentry work is going to be a VSS is assigned 2 years out from release. And so we will be following those cases very closely. And doing that release planning 2 years out, which I think will be great.
That is great. And I'm looking at Shay's question about, how many cases you're going to be reviewing. And I have to just be really honest, and I know this is being recorded. I'm really concerned about the workload that you're taking on. Because
Yeah.
this is really ambitious. And I know that you all have reported that you don't work on every case right now. So if you're taking on all these cases to make that initial contact, again, I have to be really honest, and I usually am, that I'm really concerned about the workload for your department.
So are we.
Yeah, we definitely are too. And we're gonna, I hate to say we're gonna dig in and do the best we can, but that's what we have to do right now.
We don't have a lot of options.
Yeah. But
Well,
I do
there are
think.
always options. You just, maybe you can't be the ones asking for them.
Yes, exactly. But our hope is that if we get these cases on the front end, it'll be less work for us on this back end and less work for our caseworkers and POs. So that's a piece of good news.
No, it is very good news. I think that you all would be doing these pieces. Was my other concern. But again, I think other people are putting in the chat that there's broad concern in terms of what is being placed on you, as it should be, because you all are the people in the department who carry this expertise. So I want to raise that up.
Yeah, there was a time when we had a VSU in every facility and every field office.
No, every
just
facility.
Every
We had
facility.
We had a bunch of them, and then, yeah, it's just been kind of, they take our positions and then we needed this, so.
Yeah, and if we had more positions, we could support our staff too in doing this work. That's so vital.
Is it appropriate to ask for you to kind of give a detailed history or more narrative of how the program, what that's looked like since I think 2006? I think it would just be helpful for somebody to share, and I'm happy to do so, what it has looked like and where you all are now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ashley and Danny had been here the longest, so maybe they can speak to that. I can't, but I'd love to know the history and why things happen too.
I think that would be helpful for the legislature to understand what's happened with the program. I think it's only fair that they know what you're working with.
And I can't speak to why the team has been whittled down over the years, but I have certainly had those numbers. I've written a couple of RFRs over the years when I was at the DOC, and I put some of that content in my RFR, and I can go back and look for that information and share it with the group. If that would help.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm with you, Danny. I don't know why the positions dwindled as much as they have. I know at one point Danny and I covered the entire state by ourselves. And so that was a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been here 20 years and I think they were fully staffed the year I got here. I think was the last time we had VSS in every facility. They were like volunteer coordinators. They had their own, office and they basically did all the victim work for the facilities. And then shortly after that, positions just started dwindling. We lost them with Rob, the commissioner. I think that was I think we lost 2 or 3 there. And so, yeah, I don't know all of the reasoning for it. It's way above me, but yeah, we haven't been fully staffed in 20 years. I would say. We've got 6 facilities, and it was
How many field offices?
just as many,
Yeah.
if not more. And so, it was certain more than that, obviously, because, we don't have a facility for every field office, but
Right.
yeah, so, and we weren't even in the field offices then, we were just in facilities. And then we moved to field offices and then we're moving back into facilities, just kind of going where, because things have like progressed and and now with this, like it's awful to be talking to a victim at the time of release when we should be talking to them at the beginning. So I think that this will help us going back into the facilities. It'll certainly help our staff and victims will be notified more timely about things. They'll know what to expect. They'll know what we offer. They'll know,
They'll know
just
who to call too.
they'll be in the know. And so many times we get victims that say, like, I thought you forgot about us. Well, when you have an offender that's doing dead time for, 15 years, there's not a whole lot that we're going to communicate with them about, but they need to know that ahead of time, like they need to know that at the beginning. So I think this will help. It's going to be a huge task. But we've got to do the best we can for victims. So
And we feel like this is where we can make our most.
we're pivoting right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be another pivot sometime, but right now it's to the facilities to kind of get ahead of this.
Yeah, I mean, it was all tied to the implementation of Vine because we've historically, I mean, as you know, the priorities change quickly at DOC and we were the priorities were changing and we had to secure somebody really for making sure that Vine is working well and working appropriately because we don't have the resources. Sometimes this is going to be the only way people are going to get information. So we have to make sure it's working appropriately and that the data is flowing well and that, we have a system now in place with Ashley and I. When the system goes down, we have a protocol of what we do in case somebody's released. But that's the 2 of us and it can be the weekend and nights. So, we don't have a ton of resources, but we're doing the best we can with what we have right now.
And it does meet our obligations.
Yeah, and Vine does help us meet our statutory obligations, which is why we got the system. So.
But I also think, as you heard loud and clear, and from the committees, they really want that personal connection too. I think we all can universally agree on that. And for me, I really, if anybody, I don't know if I can do the digging myself. I'd really like to understand where the program has been because whether or not we do so as a task force, and we probably can't for various reasons. Certainly for me, I feel it's really important to raise up that there needs to be more support. And so that's obviously where my head is at right now. So it wouldn't be a part of a report, but when they ask about resources, we're supposed to be looking at that. I would be remiss in not identifying that you all need more help. So.
I agree with that, Jen. I think if this is really important, and I think we would all agree that it is, that if we don't say something now, and then February goes by, and then, there's some kind of like, oh, this isn't getting done because, and that hasn't come from this committee, then we have failed. Like, we all know this needs to happen in a certain way. I agree with you. I don't know why we would not say that. Unless I'm missing something.
Well, it may mean that some people would have to abstain from taking a position. I understand the
Sure.
restraints on some folks.
Yeah.
But I think that if a majority of us could come together and flag that it's not possible for 4 people now to do this? Is that what we're looking at for, Meredith?
Yeah, if I mean, and I'm gonna be doing the direct service work, so.
Yeah.
The role of the director is kind of, it's really important in the department, but, we gotta kind of shift our practice to make sure victims are getting what they need.
With one less person than you already had prior to starting this whole conversation about victim notification. So the irony is not lost on me. But anyway, we digress and we should probably take a bio break, but I do want to have at least that conversation in our report that flags that there are needed resources for. Again, I understand that not everybody can sign on to that, but I think there are enough of us that can. All right, should we take a few-minute break and then we'll jump into the MOU piece, which I think Kim's here to speak on, and I don't think we have too much time for that, there's not a lot of time in terms of where we're at to update folks, and then hopefully we can get through the rest of it and have a little time for logistics at the end. if you're here but off camera, can you just give a thumbs up or some other indications that we can get started? All right, all right, I think most of us are here, so I'm going to turn to the MOU. Thank you, Kim, for taking on this Herculean task of trying to put some pieces together. And so if you could give us an update, that would be great. And I know that I am one of the really bad people on your list right now, but I promise I will add pieces by the end of the week, like I told you.
I was not going to name any names. I was going to say I was waiting on one more set of comments.
Yes, I'm happy to call myself out. That's me, everybody. That's me.
And I received some this morning as well. So yes, I've received feedback. So thank you for those who've sent things in. If you were worried you missed the moment, the window's open until tomorrow. So send in anything else, and I'm just blending all the comments together and just noting, if there's any spot where the comment that came in, if I've sort of worded it differently, I will highlight and note that so that when you look at the next draft, you can decide whether you like the way things have been melded together. So that once Jen's comes in, and Jen has told me, what she thinks she's sending in. So I know how I'll be able to fit that in. Ideally, I can send that out, end of day tomorrow. If not, then first thing Monday. And then I know what I was told was that the MOU may not be done and finalized before you all need to submit your report. So it may be just showing a draft of the MOU with your report. Obviously, we'll see the timing. I don't think we're going to be that far off. So far, the comments that have come in, nothing's been, wildly outside of what we discussed as a group. It's really more just fine-tuning language. No doubt higher ups will need to look at it, and that may take some time. So you may not have the final copy for November 15th, but I think you are going to have a good document to attach to your report.
Well, thank you again very much. And as I've mentioned, November 15th is a Saturday. Just saying that. And also I think it's, worth asking the committee assistant if, we send it in a little bit later, if it's important to have this finalized, or I can ask the chair as well, what she wants to have happen. I don't think that they're waiting on the 15th to read all the reports that they have scheduled due on that day.
Yeah, I've noticed for sure that nobody seems to be like checking the deadlines on those when they send them out. And no doubt, if you attach a draft of the MOU or a working copy, and then we can always forward the finalized document before the legislature takes testimony on all of your hard work.
Well, I think that they're meeting somewhere like November 24th or something is their next meeting. And I haven't heard.
Justice.
Yeah, and I haven't heard, but we'll be ready with whatever we've got. But again, thank you. And yes, I will, again, calling myself out, I will get you those pieces. It's just relative to restitution and comp. So, there's not going to be any bombs dropped on people at the last minute. So. So I think actually we can jump down, which is good in terms of time. Just in terms of the, we already talked about parole notification. Meredith's going to continue to meet with Anna and Megan about that. And hopefully we can get to a place where we can, at least with the email notifications, feel that we're completely on board with those pieces. And again, appreciation to DRBT for giving a bunch of feedback in that process. Would like to ideally have the parole piece finalized by the 15th. If not, we certainly have the language in the emails agreed to by everybody on the task force. With respect to law enforcement, just want to double check. We did actually get all the translation. Oh, sorry, Danielle. I was looking down at my notes. I didn't see you.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to add on that parole notification piece that as you consider what the ultimate ask is going to be from the legislature, one of the things that we really rely on human beings for in the VSU, the DOC VSU unit, is to provide those subsequent parole board notifications to people and to train staff that it's their responsibility to do that, because it's not something that Vine does.
Well, and I'm going to, in a few minutes, hopefully turn this over to a recommendations like task for everybody in the next, week or two to really put forward that list of things that you've taken away from these meetings, things that you think should be elevated, because that's going to be important to incorporate into the report. And there will be maybe consensus on some recs, and there might be just ones that come from just a few. But I want to make sure we detail these are consensus recs. These are ones that came from a few, but I want to reflect, y'all have put in a lot of time. What are those pieces? And then I do want to spend some time, I don't know if we'll have time today, but wish lists, because I think that thinking about protection orders, thinking about the interface with DMH, there's so many other pieces and what the court does. And we can't do everything. We can't even, this is so many layers of this onion right now but I think we want to elevate those issues and start to explore those. But so yes, Danielle. But as far
Yes.
as,
And I'm sorry for making things like overly complicated or just feeling like super laborious, but I can't help myself.
no, we're all in this together. I if you sensed anything from me about
Oh, no, not at all.
no,
I just,
okay, I was just like,
No.
there's so many things. So trying to figure out
yeah,
again what the future direction is hopefully a positive conversation that we
Yeah.
can have, and thinking
Agreed.
about all the work again that we've done and where we can take this in terms of our recommendations for the future.
for sure.
Yeah, and the legislature did talk to us about expanding Vine. So I think, Danny, a lot of your comments were super important, and I think that's something we should be exploring too.
I agree. So, but just for now, I do want to just give the update on the victims' rights form. Again, that was translated. I have it in 12 different languages, and just want to figure out and confirm, that's available. We'll have it on our website. It's being updated right now. But then how would be the best way to actually, what do you all want, if you even want that? I'm going to, the AGO's office doesn't have the updated form. I know that the essays had volunteered to help distribute the form. There were training components. Just want to confirm that I know Amy had been volunteering. I know Charlie had been volunteering the network, different pieces to incorporate in terms of that. But just want to, again, verify what I understood the rollout push to be, and then some of the training and support. So we're talking about the academy, VSP, the network, and then the essays all being helpful in terms of getting this message across. Is that correct, my recollection? Okay. All right. And then want to check in with Amy about that whole piece around the booking form and what that looks like.
So I think, I don't know that my update is any different than it was 2 weeks ago. We had a small group that were meeting last week, but I missed that meeting because I was out and about doing something. And so I will follow up on that. But I think we're still looking at, and for anyone who's familiar with this paperwork, there is, when someone is booked, a conditions of release page. And so our thought is to put it on that page because obviously if someone is released, they're going to be given those conditions and that would be a really good place to trigger, like, let's notify someone. And then once we figure out what that language looks like, and that's got to go through our legal as well, then my hope is to reach out to Meredith and say, can we show this to your folks and see what you think? See if you have any comments.
All right, and that will be really important for you to think about in terms of what we are able to say in terms of the report. I know that for you, this is, something that they're really interested in as well, as far as the law enforcement and sort of that gap, and I think they're excited about it. So if there are, it doesn't sound like you'll probably get all the hoops cleared or all the hurdles cleared. But if you can get some sort of understanding of what it is okay to share, even if it's
Yes.
just you're working on it.
I can absolutely get you that, Jen, like what is okay to share.
Okay.
And I think it is fair to say that there is, VSP is working to change this. And then, how that gets adopted by the other agencies is just a different process. And I don't know what role the commissioner plays in that. But I think we're just trying to see exactly what it looks like on the form and then and make sure that corrections is good with it and then talk about how we get the word out there.
Well, maybe I still am a little bit young and full of hope, but I'd like to think if VSP and DOC could unite on this piece, that the municipalities would all line up, but
I think so too. I mean, I share that same hope. I think it's just like we're in logistics, and I think, as you know, even if we're talking about 10 words on a page, we can look at those words 10 ways, to Sunday, and we just are in that process right now. A lot of people need to look at it. And the hope is, does the person want to be notified? And, if they can't be notified for a safety reason or because they don't have a phone, because we have it, is there someone else that we can notify that will reach them? So that's it's in process. That's what I can say to you. I hope that's helpful.
yeah, just want to make sure that in the report, there's nothing that we can't report on that is not reflective of where your agency stands.
Oh, I'm not worried about that at this point. I think we've gotten over that hurdle.
Okay.
I think it's going to happen. It's just happening right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Any questions on that from anybody? All right, thank you for taking that on and fighting the fight over there. As far as, I wanted to check in a little bit before we move on to sort of legislative recommendations, was we had spoken the last meeting about this whole, menu option and do we, then the notes and whether or not it made sense to have the menu. And a couple of the things that came out of that meeting, I thought were, can we either make the notes a little more prominent or have a flag that indicates that those should be read? And I don't know if there was been any progress on that. And I know that Ashley had mentioned earlier in the meeting about additional training for folks or just viewing for folks who aren't familiar with that whole back end notes option. But any thought about whether or not we can tinker with how things are structured?
So we've asked for the notes section to be moved up, so it's in there, I don't know, 2027 enhancements. So we're hoping that can happen, but we don't have a final answer on that.
So you mean
I could-
fiscal year 27? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And I can weigh in a little bit on that. When you look at like a tech system, this is the same system that every state is using. And most states do not use that note feature in the way that we do. I think we're the only state that uses it the way we do. And so to change it for just us changes it for the whole country. So it is the ask has been put in for 2027, but I really think what the focus would be is to focus on how we're training people to use it and training people who to use it to make sure that everyone who's being trained knows to look at that notes section. Because it would be a national system change, not just a Vermont system change.
great point, Anna. I think that training is gonna be key. And again, we have one trainer and she has little time. So, Ashley is gonna be training, Amy's team, but I really would love if the Savas who don't use the back end or don't know how can come to that training, because she's not gonna have time to continue to go everywhere to train everybody. I mean, it's just not possible right now. So Megan, I don't know how you get the word out once is there a date set? Yeah.
I think next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, if Savas who don't know how to use the back end, could come to that training, that would save us some time.
Can you forward me an invite to it? And I'm happy to, cool. And then also I'm always happy to like troubleshoot with people on this end.
Yeah, I know, Tammy she has lots of questions. So I don't know if you can get with her if she can't make it, show her what to do. That would be
I'm happy
helpful
to
for
offer
us.
that too.
Okay, perfect.
And as a reminder, Vine has an entire training team that can create training specific to our needs, specific to the different agencies, and can assist with that to help alleviate some of that role from Ashley as we go into the future.
That would be lovely. I think like giving the training to law enforcement, just even if it's not a big training, but it's just like how to sign up for Vine and making sure people have the information. I think that could be helpful too.
Hadn't Amy volunteered to do that in our last meeting? Or your unit or?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we're ready to roll out the new kind of form for booking, the plan is to, for our unit with the state police barracks, to bring out the new sheet, the revised sheet that has the Vine information on it, and talk about that and show them how easy it is to sign someone up, or to help someone sign up, or to guide them through that process, or to guide a support person through that process, and also to go over the booking piece and getting victim information to pass on to DOC. So I don't think law enforcement needs a full training on what Vine does and how it operates. I think that's not necessary and too much. They need to know that people can sign up for it and get support through victim services at DOC, hopefully, if that's, and also just where to go to get information. But they cannot be responsible for knowing everything that Vine does. It's just that's not realistic and it's not fair. But they need to know that it exists and what it does and how they can guide people toward it.
I agree, Amy. And I think with the Vine, the training that that APRIS does, I think it does get into a lot of like the extra stuff. And I know that we can kind of modify it so it's just specifically for Vermont, but I also I do that with our staff, and I know I'm going to be stretched thin, but I worry about people getting overloaded with Vine. Like we are asking them, I agree. They need like bullet points. What is the most important thing for these officers to know so that they can give to victims? And then we provide them, we have those tear off cards that they can provide victims. So I understand that, we want to make this as easy as possible for victims. and we can only do so much. So there is some that they do have to do. But I agree with you. I think sometimes the APRIS trainings can be a lot. I get overwhelmed with them myself. So, but yeah.
And we'll provide you, Amy, with the tear-off cards that they can give victims too. I mean, I know you have the sheet, but if they want to just give the tear-off cards, we'll give those to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you have, I think, you know, every time I go into a barracks, I see Vine information. So I know that it's out there. I don't know how they're using it. And again, I think it would not be a good use of time for them to understand the ins and outs of the Vine system and the back end and the notes. It's just not practical. They don't need it. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here in this group. Like who does need to know that? Who needs to know that so they can be a resource for people? And I just don't think law enforcement is who needs that.
Well, before we talk about legislative changes, I do want to, I guess, weigh in. I'm really concerned that for some of us, I think the menu option was important. And then it sounded like the notes piece was going to be that substitution. And now learning that that would create a national change and that training is the best option. I'm not comfortable with that yet. So I'd have to like spin that around in my head about whether that's a sufficient fallback, because training is a problem. People, not everybody is as victim centered as the unit within DOC. And so I have misgivings about that, to be quite honest. I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts, but happy to spin that around in my head, but that doesn't feel sufficiently protective of making sure that victim survivor requests are honored. All right, Kelsey.
Yeah, I just want to say I share Jen's concerns. I think, there are a lot of pieces here, what you were just talking about with law enforcement, how much do we put on them? And also Jen's point that we just made. I mean, it seems to me unrealistic to expect, people that are not, in the work specifically for victim services to have the knowledge and prioritize delivering this information or gathering the information adequately. And they have so many things to juggle at once. It seems to me that it's just obvious that that ball will be dropped a lot, and training is an issue in so many areas. So I really like hearing the idea of how do we simplify at least the law enforcement piece. It's so important. I'm really excited that that step is happening in some way. It seems so important, but simplifying it so that it is, more likely to happen more consistently. And, how do we train around that? But yeah, not expecting too much because it's just not going to happen. And I have worries, even the simplified version, could take a long time for that to happen consistently.
I want to move on to wait, I heard somebody. Oh, Charlie.
Sorry, Jen. Oh, Amy, you should go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I looked down at my notes and then everybody wanted to speak. Okay.
I think, I'm thinking about a lot of things in this meeting. I'm also just thinking about, again, the loss of a direct service position in state government is just, that means a lot to me. I'm just going to put it out there. That means a lot. And I think it is so hard to get those positions. I think we all know it. Everyone in this room who's doing that work. That just feels so huge to me. And I think about just a few people like trying to do a lot of work. But I also remember when we started these meetings that it felt like, if I'm remembering correctly, like everyone in the Department of Corrections is supposed to be trained and are able to reach out and provide good information to victims or their families that need it. And I'm feeling now like, did I misunderstand that? Is that true? Like, is that training happening? And is that what you're saying, Ashley, that you can't do it? And if Vine has all of this resources that you keep talking about, Anna, like, is there a way that everyone, at least in the Department of Corrections, is fully trained and capable to know, like, when we need an in-person touch or to get that? I just feel like there's a lot of people in that department. Are we using that? Are they trained? That's kind of just
Yeah.
what's coming up for me now.
No, that's a great question. And Ashley does train all those people, but again, resources are limited. So what we're going to be doing now is recording the training that she gives new staff, and that's how it will be delivered. And if they have questions, they're to reach out to her. But I think us being in the facility too will help for sure people using Vine, learning how to use Vine, and getting that muscle memory to use it.
But yes, they're all trained.
I will also just add, I have not worked with the back end of Vine, and so it's quite possible that this kind of notes solution, like, is working better than I'm imagining it is. But if we're talking about like tech updates that are like multi-year, I wonder if there is a better solution than the notes, something that is a little more foolproof and clear and like easier to train on. I don't know if there's other information other than victim contact information that is sometimes going in the notes and things could get jumbled. So that's just something that I wanted to put out there as you folks are thinking about tech updates to Vine.
Thanks, Charlie.
Well, and I
Also-
think it's important just to point out, Jen, that any enhancements are going to cost money. So really what we're focusing on right now that the work group has asked us to focus on is languages. And so we're getting price quotes on that, but if we want more enhancements, we'll have to get prices on those types of things as well.
Sure, and I think that would be helpful. I think the menu option has been real clear in terms of lots of conversations since last September. So I don't think that that's a new issue. I think there was hope that perhaps, given the obligations in Title 28, that we could, rather than, we could just simply leave those as is, not maybe create a menu with the changes to the notifications you were providing voluntarily, and then just move forward with the note section with some tweaks. And it sounds like those tweaks are not somehow possible. So if that costs money, now is the time to ask for that. And again, I understand that maybe you can't, people from DOC can't, but other people on this task force can. So I want to take this opportunity to make it better. And so it's envisioning what needs to happen. And if it's a resource issue, absolutely, that's what we're here for. That's our charge, to recommend how we utilize resources and ask for resources. So, I mean, again, whatever it takes, I don't want to be back in the chair 2 years from now in that building saying that what we have doesn't work. That's not my plan. So anyway, as far as recommendations, we had talked about having 13 VSA 5314 reflect the inclusion of the language in the law enforcement form around offender locator and binds. And I did have an opportunity to meet, actually, it wasn't about this, but with the chair of House Judiciary, and also another member, and they put in a placeholder for the language, for the issue. So, because the deadline is December 1st for drafting. I'm no legislative council person, but I tried to capture the concept in what I sent out as far as what we would include. So I don't know if people had a chance to look at it. I hope that you all have. But there's a bill request in, and it would be great if we could maybe have a vote or any discussion and then a vote about whether or not we can get behind that language. Did everybody have a chance to look at that? Any thoughts, concerns, feedback? Again, this is hardly a fancy language. It's just something to give the smart people that draft the laws, a concept to work with.
Jen, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to do a thorough read of it, but I'm happy to do that today and follow up by email.
Okay. So.
And Jen, this is the one about adding the language about.
Yep.
Yeah,
Adding
I think it
to-
looks great.
Adding to sub 7?
Yeah.
Or adding
mean,
sub 7 to.
This is one that I might not be able to like be super vocal on,
Yes.
but I think it's good and important and it looks great.
And Kim, I warned Tim that this was coming up. I don't know if he was able to give you a position, but if people don't have a chance to, weigh in today or maybe later today, I'd like to move this into the avenue of like, we're good. We're good with the concept.
Jen, I'm sorry. I just looked at the language and it was just that last bullet
Yep.
point, which, yes, you can put that in the looks
Okay.
good pile from our end.
Okay.
Jen, I'll have Tim follow up. I know we both looked at it. I know there was no initial concern. He may have thoughts just about particular language, but that can be worked out later. But I'll just double check with him.
Okay, and I think it was more the concept, and then there'll be a lot of back and forth as there always is, so.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or feedback?
I think it's great as well,
Great,
Jen.
thank you. So can we move this in terms of a vote as far as the concept at this point, or do we need to have a further conversation?
I think
Would
we
anyone-
can move it. I don't know what
Okay.
Amy thinks.
Are you moving?
I'm moving.
right.
I'll make a motion to move this forward.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Great.
Just clarifying, sorry, Jen, before we vote, just clarifying that the motion is the concept of adding this language. So
Yes,
not the
that we are,
specific
that
language,
we are
but-
agreeing to
Yes.
Advance the concept that law enforcement are also required under 5314 to provide this information as part of what they provide to victims, which is in that form, so.
And this would be part of the recommendations that the group is putting in the
Yes.
report. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Any further conversation? All right, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye, or do whatever works for you. Any nays? And any abstentions? Great. All right. So conceptually, we have a solid recommendation for them to look at for next year. And I'll keep folk updated since we are still all together till February, what comes back in any way, shape, or form. But we're in the queue. We're in the queue. Who knows what it looks like? One thing that's come up, and hopefully, this won't be a long issue, but in looking at the MOU, there are conflicting pieces in our statutes, and thank you, Danielle, for taking that off my plate and making it really nice and clear. Title 13 and Title 28 each speak to notification rights of victims and parole processes. 13 has it as a opt-in. 28 has it as an opt-out. So I think for me, I feel it's important for this committee, and again, especially in terms of looking at the MOU, to reflect upon those changes and consider whether we want to recommend one or the other, because currently they're in conflict. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at what Danielle had provided that made it really clear where the deviations are, but it's an opt-in or an opt-out.
I have thoughts. Of course I do. I would say that like elsewhere in terms of like victims receiving support from the like victim advocate program, that's designed as an opt-out where it's like, if you don't want to, you can just let us know. And that is my preference because I have unfortunately just witnessed where there is not the presumption that somebody will be contacting victims. Oftentimes it's left to like, oh, they're just not in there, they haven't responded. So I just worry that if it's not a firm opt-out, that the outreach just won't happen. Or that's the way it will slide. Especially with resources being scarce. But, you know, I mean, I also am aware sort of like the idea that it could be anytime we're reaching out can be re-traumatizing. But in my lived experience, I have never connected with a survivor and just had them be like, how dare you reach out to
Everybody
me?
froze.
People aren't frozen on my end. But anyway, I'm open to thoughts, but that's just my initial instinct.
Ashley and I agree with Megan. I think I agree.
Right, and I see Amy agrees and I agree, especially really concerned about the, cutting of that position
Yeah.
for
and
you, Meredith, so.
And I think ideally we'd be having conversations with people prior to the point of notifying anybody of a parole board hearing. And if they didn't want further notification, we'd be noting that.
So is this a piece that we can also move forward in terms of a recommendation as far as bringing these, bringing 13 into, I guess, conformance with 28, that 28 should lead and 13 needs to be updated to reflect that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move that forward, Jen.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any seconds? Oh, Amy again?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Right, all in favor, please say aye, raise your hand, do whatever. Anyone opposed? Jane, I assume that you were in favor and just a little late with the hand.
Sorry, I was a little late. I'm in favor.
Takes me a while too to figure it out. Any abstentions? Great, all right, we have another, oh, sorry.
I have another quick question about the MOU. I know that statutorily, like the Attorney General's office isn't included in the victim assistance program, but I don't know, like, I feel like they should be signing on to this too. And I don't know if they're not kind of in here because of the fact that they're not listed in statute like the state's attorneys are. And maybe this is political, but I think they have a lot of cases and a lot of listed crimes. And I feel like they need to agree to this too. So just throwing that out there. I did send that to Kim and I
I was
realized
gonna say,
maybe-
Kim's going to kill you. She's gonna come through the phone, to the
I know.
computer.
And I understand, and I know there's a lot to that comment, but I just want to put it out there. That's all. And if we don't, we do it, we don't do it for whatever reason, but I just feel like they interface with a lot of victims and a lot of families. And I just, if we're making this commitment, I would want them to as well.
I think that's really important. So maybe it's just as simple as having a line for Charity to sign, Kim, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it needs to be more complicated than that because there might be, a few other places that we might need to. I'll just think through it where else we might need to cross-reference, but yeah, I don't think it needs to be complicated. And again, I can add it into the next draft and everyone can see what that looks like. And in the meantime, we can have conversations with the Attorney General's office to see if there's any issue with adding them as a signatory and go from there.
I just missed something in the chat. All right, well, I don't know if there's, we have a little bit of time for public comment. Armina is not here, but she does raise an issue that's more for future conversation. I want to raise up, as you saw from her email, and this is a bear we should address. And actually, it will be pretty timely because I know that there are a couple of different proposals floating around the mental health issues and folks who commit serious violent crimes. So I just want to, again, if you haven't read her email, take a look at it. But I do think that's an important topic for us to tackle after we get the report together. Any other public comment? All right, well, what I'd like to encourage people to do, again, everybody's been knee deep in this and really want to thank you all, is to think about, through all these conversations, through the meetings, put together kind of your own individual recommendations based on those conversations, and then kind of a wish list for, helping us to direct those future conversations as well. So, what have you gleaned from all these meetings that rises to the top? And then, again, ideas for how we tackle some other issues in the time that we have remaining. So if people could kind of give some time for that, I think that feels to me like the next best step. I certainly don't want to working, again, assuming it's poor Haley, but, kind of coming up with a bunch of pieces. I'd like it to reflect what you all are thinking about and have us have those conversations. We don't have another meeting scheduled before the report. We might be able to do it through email, I'm hoping. But, I might try and see if I can get a group of us together in advance to talk about it. So that's unclear right now because I've never tackled a beast like doing a report of this nature. So going to see how that rolls out. I don't know if people have any thoughts or feedback or suggestions, but for now it feels like, again, reflecting on what we've done, coming up with some recommendations, directions that you think are important to highlight.
Jen, just a comment on process, because we ran into this at the council. When you're getting into the report and sending it around, just a reminder for the group not to reply all. Otherwise you can run into open meeting law potentially when you're sort of group creating a document via email. So if you're doing drafts and getting comments, you need to ideally have one person be the point person, probably yourself if you're the writer of the report, and then can send out to the group. But if there becomes like a chain of group emails,
Okay.
things get a little tricky there.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so maybe it would be sending those on to myself, and then I can get with Haley, but I could also distill. What I'm hearing, Kim, is I could distill those out and then I could provide them in like one document to folks. That would then be subject potentially to open meeting law. But rather
Exactly.
than having
You just don't
everybody's
want like
emails.
yeah, if it starts to look like a group conversation, like essentially a meeting, an extended meeting happening through big emails, that's when things can just get a little murky. But if you send a draft out and then have folks comment back directly to you, and then you send out another one, that's fine.
So insofar as people have recommendations, should those also just be to me versus
Mhm.
the whole group? And then
Yes.
I'll pull out what, the common themes are. Okay, that's helpful. Sounds like you have a lot of expertise in this area, Kim. I'm wondering if you got some downtime.
Trial by fire and learning open meeting law and getting corrected in front of lots of people has made me have a little bit of knowledge in this area.
Okay, well, if you ever, again, are looking for something to do, there's a report that needs to be written, so just saying. All right, so I think we're relatively clear. People can again think about recommendations based on what we've talked about and then directions for the group moving forward. So we can again be pulling in other people, other agencies. That would be great. And then I can reflect those back to everybody and we can just kind of go from there. So again, I appreciate your patience. This is literally trial by fire. So thanks for noticing that, Kim, and it'll be great. But if people could get that, those recommendations to me as soon as possible. I don't know if next Wednesday is too aspirational, but I think we have a couple that are pretty solid. But next Wednesday, and then I don't know if Joe's still on. I see his name, but I know you had offered, or I had asked and you had agreed to help amplify the pieces that you do that nobody else understands.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the
Thanks,
day.
Jen.
You too.
Jen, really, oh, did I lose you? I did. Oh, well.